Welcome to Invercargill in New Zealand's deep south, home of cycling Southland and a region rich in scenery and character. For the past 58 years, Invercargill has opened its doors to a small army of elite cycling teams who descend on the region for one of the biggest and toughest races on the New Zealand cycle racing calendar. Across 7 stages and 900 kilometres, the cyclists will face everything the roads, terrain and weather of Southland can throw at them. At the end of the week, the best will take home the titles and the jerseys money can't buy. This is the 2014 SBS Bank Tour of Southland.
The first road stage of this year's tour saw its usual frantic beginnings as riders attempted to establish themselves in the potential break of the day. But as has been the case in the past, the peloton put the foot down over the last 30 kilometres in an attempt to reel in the leading contenders. Team Cromwell's Thomas Stewart found the strength to hold off the imposing peloton, this time being joined by Hayden McCormick and eventual stage winner Ben Hill of Australia. But it was Mike Northey's third place in the stage that was enough to secure the yellow jersey at the end of day one.
You couldn't really ask for much more yesterday. We had everyone in that front group as well. I think we're the only team that did, so it shows we do have the strength and we'll be looking to hang on to 1 or 2 of them for the week.
We've got more staff than riders, I think, which is great, and we're being well looked after. I think the team's done really well so far. Second overall in the team classification says a lot about the way we've been riding, so hopefully we'll continue that.
Stage 2 of the SBS Bank Tour of Southland focuses on the area around Invercargill and the fishing port of Bluff. This is the commercial heart of Southland and gateway to much of the region's scenic surroundings. Invercargill is a major centre of sporting excellence and the home of Cycling Southland, who have staged the tour for almost 60 years. The stage finishes in the historic fishing port of Bluff, concluding with one of the steepest and toughest climbs of the tour.
So we're just looking to conserve as much as I can until the bottom of Bluff will be the plan today. And then we'll see how we go to get up there.
Just going to go as hard as I can. Yeah. No secret strategy. Yeah.
Just fight the whole way up, and I think with me and Vink we can do something today.
The Bluff Hill stage has become world famous in cycling for the ferociousness of the last 3 Ks of Bluff Hill. By the time you get to the bottom of Bluff Hill, you've raced for 135 Ks in that stage. And it is a very, very tough stage sometimes, just getting down to Bluff before you climb the hill.
These riders are going to be climbing for around 8 to 9 minutes. That's the top guys that are going to get themselves up onto the top of the podium at the end of the day. For some other riders there, they'll be out there for well over 20-25 minutes as they drag their bodies up to the top of this climb here on the day 2.
You're not going to probably win the tour here, but you're definitely going to lose a lot of time. Personally myself, I lost 50 seconds on this stage, and that 50 seconds paid for it in the end.
It's dark clouds once again that greet the riders as they begin day 2 here of the tour, of course finishing the notorious Bluff Hill.
Yes, there'll be some nerves amongst the peloton this morning, Julian. You can see them all pretty much prepared for a wet day. There's a lot of longs, booties, gloves, arm warmers and under hats, under the helmets. These guys will be pretty nervous heading out of town this morning.
So the flag is dropped, and as is tradition, we see a rider take off right from the get-go. One of the riders this year from Adair Craig Accounting. So here we have a bit of a move going on out towards Myra Sports, just out the outskirts of Invercargill. You can see one of the Avanti team trying to get themselves across to this lead group.
Yeah, they'll be desperate to be represented in this front group given their big chase yesterday. See one of the riders in the front group, here's Matt Zenovic from the H&J's Outdoor World team. Matt's ridden a lot in Belgium this year, and this is typical Belgian stuff here. They're out of the blocks quick. This is a really tough selection process at the start of all these stages.
As we can see on the map there, Makarira is where the riders are now making their way through, and the conditions starting to get a bit damp out there for the riders.
This is one of the aspects of this race which is so changeable, Julian. The conditions can fluctuate from sun to rain to hail, back to sun within 15 minutes. And these riders are really battling away. This is tough conditions to race in.
They're trying very hard to get away from that main peloton. And here comes another couple of riders trying to shut it down. It's yesterday's stage winner, Ben Hill from Australia, who's now trying to shut it down. So there's potentially 3 groups here trying to form into one. And you can see just in the darkened distance there, the peloton.
Yes, Ben Hill has come here with a big intention to race, and he'll be wrapped getting into this McCallum's group team. But you can see here there's some serious chasing going on to this front group of riders. They'll be getting across as quickly as they can, get a bit of a breather, get into a rhythm, and then back into it again at this front break.
So these 2 riders are about to make the junction, which will now make this a group of 10 riders, which could potentially put a lot of pressure on the rest of the field. Of course, great support for this year's tour, and Doug, you were out with a lot of the supporters yesterday on day 1 of the tour.
My nephew's in the tour, and he phoned me the other night and said, would I like to come? And I said, oh yeah, I'd love to get on the bus and rev it up with these boys.
We've got a lot of people that know a lot about cycling, and they've got parents of riders.
Now, I've got a boy in the tour, so that makes it even better.
We're on the bus today following Bridge of Europe, all about plumbing the cycling team. Hayden, our son, under 23 rider, he's in the team.
I mean, it's such a demanding sport, you know. Like, I mean, it's fair put their bodies out there on the line.
The main reason why I come on the bus today is because of Doug. We know he's got an amazing amount of wealth of knowledge.
It appears at this stage there's 10 riders away from the peloton, and they're trying to get a bit of a gap heading out of town. This often happens at the start of all these stages. They're pretty brutal, to be fair.
Angus, you're on TV. You're on TV, Angus.
Normally you're driving the car yourself or trying to race from point to point, and yeah, you're more of a relaxed day watching it.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. Except for these guys waking me up.
Much better than being in the office. It was great.
Don't have to worry about a thing, it's great. Lunch on the road.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's been so well organised. People are really nice. Some great viewing spots. Yeah, we've really enjoyed the race.
As per the case of team racing here, we can see the team management coming up alongside one of their riders here to give them the instructions of what's required. And so a fair bit of discussion, the arm going up to allow his teammate to know it's time to start rolling. Now, some of the field here, this lead group, you can see, are not so happy about this. It's they're just having a bit of discussion on what needs to happen in this lead group of 10.
Yeah, this is one of the interesting aspects. You can see the discussion going on. Hey, are we here to race or are we here to sit on the front breakaway? And you can see the Team Cromwell, they've come here to race, and this whole front breakaway is only going to exist out there and stay away if they all work together.
Here we have the main peloton rolling through, and of course it is the tour leader Mike Northey's team that is on the front, and you can see the sleeves there of the sprint ace Hambrook out in front all day yesterday, but now having to do the work for his teammate, his team leader.
Yeah, it's amazing the difference a day makes, Julian. There's Kieran Hambrook at the front of the chasing group today as opposed to yesterday, and he'll be a wee bit annoyed he's not in there because he's not winning any points, of course.
So as we approach into a winter now, the Central Township, which gives plenty of support every year when it comes to the tour. St Thomas Aquinas School out there giving them plenty of stick as they come on through, and Zenovich once again getting in amongst the sprints.
Yeah, this is the glory of these breakaways, Julian, once they're established. It gives some of these riders a chance to win the sprint preems and hill climbs along the way, as we saw yesterday. So the Township of Winton always gets in behind the tour itself, and it's great to see, isn't it?
Zenovic once again here. He sees the yellow flag, allowing him to know that it's another sprint, and it's Grieve from Pure South, though, who's doing battle with him. The man that was sitting in second overall in the sprint ace there. He's going to pick up a few points here, but he's certainly ticking them over to put himself well and truly towards the front of the leaderboard for that, as is Zenovic, who's challenging all day long.
Yeah, this is an impressive show here from Matt Zenovic from the H&J's team. He has gone very, very early, perhaps a wee bit early. You can see here the Avanti rider coming across him now into Waianawa to take the Supreme. But Matt Zenovic, gosh, he's really gone on the attack today. He's a very aggressive rider. He's won a lot of aggressive rider awards in France and different places he's raced overseas this year. And this kid really loves to bike race and get out there and do it.
Neil van der Ploeg, of course, is the man that's out in front here. He'll pick up the sprints at Waianawa as we scan back now to the main peloton, and it's the likes of Tom Scully and co that are still sitting on the front, keeping things under control here. There's still quite a few kilometres left to go before they know the typical side to tail wind that comes with the last 20 kilometres of this stage.
So back at the front of the race here, you can see these Avanti riders really driving this breakaway. This is still quite a hard crosswind section. You see them all lapping through left to right. So there's some strong winds out there for these guys. And this is still a long, long way from the finish.
Powerful new Octavia RS. Not your everyday family car. Skoda, simply clever.
Welcome back as we now approach the township of Bluff, and the notorious Bluff Hill is in the distance with only 2 minutes 18 separating this lead group and the chasing peloton.
These are the positions you often find yourself down in this race going to Bluff. It really depends how much energy you've had to use on the way down, and these guys have been away pretty much from the gun, and there's some serious hard work been going on at the front.
Back in the peloton, you still see the Tour Leaders jersey team out the front of the race, trying to control things all the time here. They've been set the task today to try and control it. They've had them sitting out at 3:30, slowly but surely now starting to chew into the lead of that lead group here. This is going to be a very tight finish.
They're really wanting to try and set this up for Mike Northey. You can see here a bit of indecision in the front group now. Matt Zenovic is starting to take a bit of a flyer at them. He'll be hoping to get some time up his sleeve before he starts the climb on Lee Street. And this is the sort of thing that can spoil a front group. And here you go, you see one of the other Powernet riders now screaming across. It's number 35, Ryan Wills. So all of a sudden the front is starting to break up.
Yeah, these guys are starting to sniff the potential of getting a victory for themselves, and of course it would be a fantastic victory to win on Bluff Hill, one of the most historic stages ever in the Tour of Southland. As we go back once again to this peloton, and again we see this team out in front who are just pounding away and trying to bring them back.
Yeah, Mike Northey will have really relished this ride that he's had out of the Kia Motors Ascot Park team. He's tucked in there nicely. Once again, we're back at a combined front group here. The Avanti riders are leading the front breakaway into Lee Street. Julian, this is quite a tight right-hander, but once you get there, man, it's all on for the Bluff Hill climb.
The advantage of two teammates in the one break here. Aaron Donnelly's been given the job here to drive it to the base of the hill. Don't be surprised to see Neil van der Ploeg sling off his wheel here as the man on the front, Donnelly, giving it everything into this sweeping corner.
Yeah, here we go here. It's very wet. These guys are going around this really, really quickly. It's going to be interesting to see how the traction fares. Like, Bluff is such a steep climb that on a wet day like this, your tyres actually can slip around a bit. You can see here Neil van der Ploeg, he's really getting back into his work. He's in a low gear, he's in the small chain ring, having a bit of a look around. He needs to get into a rhythm early on, and he needs to just hold that all the way to the top.
This first kicker, very steep indeed, and as you said, Doug, trying to get yourself established into a rhythm as quickly as you possibly can. We still can't make out to that. Here they come, the peloton. They're about 30 odd seconds back on them here. They'll be sweeping around shortly, so there is some serious firepower back there, but they've got a lot of time still to make up on the hill.
There's a lot of riders in here, Julian, who will still fancy their chances of winning this stage, even with this time gap as it is. Bluff is such a steep climb, and it does take it out of you, especially these front breakaway riders who have been on the front the whole way. They'll be very, very tired.
Mike Northey's yellow sleeves of the tour leader, not too far back off the front here as his teammate Fraser Goff is driving things for him, but back at the front of the field, the man who's gritting the teeth and pounding on the pedals, making his way up, potentially to a stage victory.
Yeah, this will be a new experience for a rider like Neil van der Ploeg from Australia. He's probably never encountered anything like Bluff. A lot of these riders come and get a real surprise at just A, how steep it is, and B, how long it is. He's just hitting the start of the climb now past the RSA Memorial. He's out of his seat. He'll spend a lot of time out of his seat up this climb. This is super tough.
And here come the chasers now. Onto the hill, only 30 seconds back here on that leads group. They're going to have to put a lot of pressure on to get themselves up towards the front of it, but there are some very good climbers now that'll start to make their moves.
There's a lot of jockeying goes on up here, up this first part of the climb, Julian. There's actually a preem up the top of this. Of course, not for these guys. The front group have taken that. But the riders really jockey for position. It's almost like a track race at the start of this climb, getting yourself in the right position for this first wall around this RSA Memorial part. There's a bit of a downhill leg coming up before they hit it, but you've got to be in the right place. This climb is so critical for the overall GC of this race.
We see the colours of the Avanti racing team. I think it could be Taylor Gunman towards the front of it. They've obviously come out with a real plan today after what would be considered a disappointing day for them yesterday, starting the day in yellow.
Yeah, these guys, this is where it all was made or broken, and you can see we're back at the front of the race again. Neil van der Ploeg has been joined by Ben Hill from the McCallum's group team. This is a sterling ride here from Ben Hill. He has really, really been on the front. He's been in this breakaway all day, and this guy has really turned up to this year's SBS Bank Tour of Southland, ready to race.
He's a bit of an unknown factor here for this BDO stage. The man from Australia, very good sprint on him yesterday. Now he's trying to show us he's got the legs to go on the hill as well, with a lead group of about 4 riders try and form themselves towards the front and stave off that challenge from the main peloton.
Yeah, there's a bit of pain going on behind there from Neil van der Ploeg. Ben Hill has put up a lovely tempo at the front. Here we are back at the peloton again. They're starting to grind up this first bit of the climb, and Julian, this is just such a tough climb. It's 39, 24 or 26 for the climbers, and that gives you an indication of kind of low gears that they use to get up here.
Yeah, there's some very interesting gear ratios as we see one of the, I think that could be Wills from the PowerNet team, about to be swallowed up by the chasing peloton, and they spread themselves quite a way across the road here. Not typical sight that we would see here on the Bluff Hill stage.
Yeah, there's still quite a lot of fresh legs in this peloton that's had a bit of a dream ride, obviously driven by the Kia Motors squad, the Ascot Park team, all the way to the base. But the fireworks will start exploding, but they've got a lot of work to do to catch these front guys. This Ben Hill at the front of this race has really, really put some time into them.
So they continue just now to get themselves into that rhythm there. A number of riders still holding back. You can see a few of the H&J's outdoor team waiting patiently. They've got the likes of Vesey, who's a very good climber indeed. You see the pink jersey of McCormick, the under-23 leader. He's also very close to at the front as well, but it's still Ben Hill who's pounding on the pedals and setting a very good rhythm at the front of the race.
And Neil van der Ploeg from the Avanti squad straight in behind him. He is really, really giving this everything, Neil van der Ploeg. But Ben Hill is out of his seat. He really looks like he's comfortable. He's over the gear. He's making a really nice job of getting up here. He'll find it gets a bit steeper up as he goes up towards the last right-hand curve, but he is well within himself by the looks of things. You can normally tell, Julian, on the faces of these guys in what kind of pain they are, and this guy looks very composed.
It's the very long straight here of the hill, and of course they can see the crowd waiting for them. Very good support on the roads once again here at the top of the hill, and it's one of the last kickers where we've actually seen in the past, Doug, riders actually get off their bike and have to push up, but these two boys are looking in some very good form.
Neil van der Ploeg, he is backing himself here. He's really, really putting a bit of a lead on trying to get up this climb, but he is going to have to keep a nice rhythm. Ben Hill has set himself up nicely up this climb. I've been impressed with his tempo. He's been out of the seat when Neil's been sitting down, and it does get really, really steep up this last corner. This last corner is the toughest corner of this race by far.
Ben grinding his way back up to the front here. Of course, the man from the Avanti racing team, the pressure on. They had 2 men in the break, so they want to get this win here today. Hill comes up onto the outside of him here with 100 metres to go. It's a lot of pressure on the body.
This is make or break time here for these two guys, and Ben Hill has just shown he's out of his seat. You can see Neil van der Ploeg starting to swerve a bit. He's really struggling, whereas Ben Hill from the McCallum's group team, he is really making a nice job. This is a straight line ride from Ben Hill. You can see Neil van der Ploeg now starting to swerve and weave. This is an incredible ride here from Ben Hill.
Back in the chasing peloton here, and we can see that pink jersey, Vesey up there for the H&J's team as they try and shut things on down, but Ben Hill's looking very powerful out in front, and now we can see this peloton really starting to stretch out. This is more like what we're expecting to see here on the stage into Bluff.
I think that the Avanti squad can sense that Mike Northey's probably not in the first 4 or 5 riders here, and they're really doing their best to try and stretch it out. But once again, Ben Hill's at the front of this race. We're into the last stages at the front of the Bluff Hill stage. Ben Hill looks like he's going to take this, Julian.
Seconds count, and that's what they'll be counting on here, some of these riders, as they try and distance themselves from some of their top competition. It's young Vesey, the Central Otago rider who's been based overseas for the year. He's come back here in some pretty good sort of form. This is one of the stages he was targeting for the year, but it's Ben Hill who's going to come up around the last kicker to the finishing straight. Fantastic view in the distance there. You can see the second man, Neil van der Ploeg, is going to try and hold on to that second spot, but Ben Hill looking too strong here, as you can see that these riders now really starting to fatigue towards the top.
Yeah, this is within the last sort of 50 metres of the finish. You can see Ben Hill coming around now. He's out of his seat for the last portion of the climb. This guy is just really an amazing bike rider. He's come here determined to do the job, and you can see here in his style, this man means business, Julian.
Day 2 here on the tour, and it's the second consecutive stage here for the Australian Ben Hill. He takes out a sprint on the first day, the hilltop finish on day 2, and potentially be moving himself into a yellow jersey with a decent distance back to the remaining riders. As we see the likes of Vesey and co now battling it out for 3rd and 4th respectively here. And it looks like Mitchell Lovelock-Fay, the man that's going to come on through and secure himself a 3rd spot across the line from the young man from Central Otago, Vesey.
Yeah, these guys will be in survival mode and trying to claw back and make sure they minimise any damage on their overall GC stage, possibilities. You can see here this man is just exhausted. He's ready to stop.
These boys have turned themselves inside out as McCormick comes across the line. That could potentially be enough to hold on to that under 23 jersey, but the riders have given it absolutely everything. There's no respite whatsoever when you come to the Bluff Hill climb.
Because he was away with Northern year towards the end of the stage here yesterday. There's last year's
Ben Hill of Australia secures his 2nd stage of this year's tour, and more importantly puts himself at the front of the race in the yellow jersey by 28 seconds from Hayden McCormick and Van der Ploeg at 36 seconds. The Harcourt's sprint ace sees Jacob Grieve, after a lot of aggressive riding today, move himself out into the lead with 56 points. The Jesco Hydraulics King of the Mountains sees Thomas Stewart retain that jersey. The Henderson Construction under 23 jersey remains on the shoulders of Hayden McCormick. The Stonewood Homes over 40s jersey sees Gordon McCauley close in on Justin Stott with a 3-second difference. The tactics of the Avanti racing team today place them well and truly out in front here in the Wednesday Cycles teams classification, with Team Cromwell and H&J Smith outdoor in 2nd and 3rd respectively.
The last 30k from in town, no one wanted to hit the front, so we're all mucking around so much, and we just kept seeing the gap come down and down and down, and I'm like, oh, I hope we get at least a minute at the bottom, otherwise I don't think we'll stick, but luckily we had enough time.
I could see the riders up the road coming closer by the second, so I was pretty determined to try and catch them and get that first place, but it still panned out well, and we're in a great position for the tour with the next few days coming up and a time trial on Saturday.
Follow the 2014 SBS Bank Tour of Southland all week with full results, live updates, photo galleries and video coverage every day at tourofsouthland.com.